Hi there, and welcome to Out There Paranormal Podcast. I'm your ghost host, TJ, and on the first of every month, I come out with a new episode about the paranormal that I find spooky and weird. If you don't know what the paranormal is, it's anything that cannot be explained with conventional science. And for this podcast, that means any location, entity, or event with ghostly happenings is on the table. Make sure to follow the podcast on Instagram and TikTok at Out There Paranormals to see the posts we make for each episode and give us suggestions for what you'd like to hear. It's also a great way to join our Discord server. I'm sure everyone knows by now, but we have a Discord server. Last month, I mentioned that when we reach 100 server members, all of us hosts will have a live Q&A on Discord. We are nearly halfway to that goal, and I can't thank you all enough. The interaction with everyone is so much fun. Getting to read your creepy stories and seeing the haunted locations you guys get to visit is just part of the reason we wanted to do this. Even Trevor posted camera footage of a light anomaly outside his house a few weeks back. He also mentioned that he met Miley Cyrus at work a few days ago, so there's that. If you haven't already, you should definitely check it out. Today is going to be a more relaxed episode. It also marks a first for Out There Paranormal, as it's our first Reddit Stories episode. We have stories with a variety of spirits, and even a story from both Trevor and Josh. So throw me on in the background and let the atmosphere take you. These are Haunted House Reddit Stories. Let's dive in. Our first story comes from a comment left by user ReasonableCow2491 on the r/Haunted Houses subreddit. My little brother has been seeing a tall man with a hat in the corner of his bedroom for over 4 years now. The man has never moved or done anything. He just stands there. I tried asking my brother if he saw the man's eyes or where the man was looking at, but my brother doesn't want to talk about it because my brother is scared that the man will hurt him. My brother is now sleeping in one other room and always has a light on because he is scared of the man with the hat. My brother has never seen the man with the hat in his new room. A friend of my brother claimed he captured the man on camera, but I have never asked to see it. I still think it's weird because we bought our house for my grandparents, and no one has lived in it before, and both my grandparents are still alive. I like to think it's my uncle watching over us. My uncle passed away a couple years ago because of cancer. Almost every night, I have the feeling of being watched when I open my eyes. I see vague shadows moving around. This could just be my brain playing tricks on me, but it happens almost every night. I have had nights where I would wake up at 2 to 4 a.m. and just couldn't sleep anymore. I hear wood cracking and tapping on my TV every night, and sometimes I get the feeling of someone blowing on my neck or back. I used to get a weird feeling when I didn't face a wall when sleeping, but I don't feel that anymore. And I get a strange feeling of someone chasing me upstairs when I'm home alone. The feeling is coming from my brother's room. I've tried talking to the things with the tapping, but have never got a clear answer. I don't know much about this, but a couple nights after my uncle passed away, one of my aunts was showering home alone, and she had a feeling of someone being there. After that, a pin fell off of her desk. I don't know if this is exactly what happened because I heard my mom say it on the phone, but when I asked her about it, she said it was nothing. The figure that seems to be occupying her brother's room sounds to me like the Hat Man. For those who don't know or haven't listened to Josh's Shadow Figures episode, the Hat Man is a dark figure that is seen by people all over the world. Most see him standing in the corner of a room like in this story, but he can be seen nearly anywhere, even in dreams. One of my friends one time told me they were driving home late one night after closing at work. Being severely sleep deprived, they started to fall asleep at the wheel. Their car started to go off the road, but they managed to snap awake at the last second and pull back onto the road right before hitting a stop sign. My friend said that when they hit the brakes and looked in the rearview mirror, there was a tall, dark figure with a top hat standing next to the sign. No one is quite sure if the Hat Man is a force for good or evil, and we may never know. This next story is from user expert-maybe 5106 going over their scariest encounters. I've had a lot of experiences throughout the years living in my haunted house, but these are the ones that scared me the most. 1. This happened to me when I was around 14. I'm almost 22 now. I was sitting alone in my room at night, and I was on Snapchat, just responding to streaks, taking random pictures of basically my bedroom doorway. My room was dark, and I was looking like crap, but my hall light was on, so I was taking pictures of the doorway, just so it wouldn't be a black screen for my streaks. I know, it's stupid, but I was 14. So all the pictures were coming out normal, and then one of them wouldn't take, and just kept going in and out of focus. When it finally took, there was a black shadow figure peeking in at me in my doorway. Still just typing this, I'm getting chills because it terrified me so much. I'll try to attach the picture if I can figure out how. Otherwise, message me and I'll send it. Keep in mind, it's out of focus, but you can still clearly make out the figure in my opinion. 2. So this next one happened shortly after that first one. It was kind of a dark time in our lives in the household, and the activity definitely fed off that and increased. I was home alone and in the shower. I was getting close to getting out, just rinsing off, when my back started to burn so bad. It felt like the water turned all the way up and was scalding my skin, but only on my back, not my arms or my legs. I panicked and jumped out. When I looked in the mirror at my back, I had 3 huge scratches going down my back. I had a picture of these as well, but since it's been so long, I'm not sure if I could find it. 3. This last one happened much more recent, probably a year or 2 ago. My girlfriend, who lives with me, and I were in our kitchen getting a late night snack. When I say late night, I mean it was probably close to 2 to 3 a.m. We both have lived here and experienced so much that after a while, you kind of start to pick up on the bad vibes. It's hard for me to explain, but when you have a paranormal experience and the hair on your arms and neck stand up, and you get a cold and just kind of eerie feeling, it's a memorable feeling. After it happens so many times, you can just kind of recognize it. So my girlfriend and I were in the kitchen, and we both just got that vibe. We were spooked, and trying to get our stuff and get out of the kitchen and go upstairs as quick as we could, because it felt like something was going to happen. Right as we were leaving the kitchen and kind of passing the basement stairs, this loud, deep, guttural growl came from the basement. We both ran as fast as we could back upstairs. I say these experiences are some of my scariest experiences in my home because they have been the darkest. However, I want to stress that at least 90% of our experiences or encounters are not dark or violent. I do not fear for my safety or anyone in the home, and if we did, we would act immediately. Myself and my family have kind of been through it with paranormal stuff, and we don't play around with it. I have many more experiences and stories if anyone is interested. Also, sorry for any typos or errors. I'm on mobile. In my not-so-professional opinion, this sounds to me like a demonic spirit. The 3 scratches across their back is a telltale sign of a darker presence. For those who don't know, demonic spirits will often do things in threes as a way to mock the Holy Trinity. The most common interactions are 3 scratches or 3 knocks. Another common feeling associated with demonic scratches is the intense burning, which this user said they felt. Moving away from the demonic, this next story comes from user Mermaid Tale. Several years ago, I used to babysit for my then boyfriend's brother's kid. The house was inherited by his wife from an older man she lived with and took care of before he died. I'll call him Joe. There was a sunroom you entered first, and for whatever reason, I felt compelled to say, "Hi, Joe," whenever I came over. One day, I go over to watch the kid. His parents leave, and I'm there like 5 minutes before I feel something in my eye, on my contacts. I go to walk into the dining room, which had a big hutch with a mirror on it to check. As I'm passing the steps leading to the stairs, I hear a very loud and distinct "hello" from upstairs. I must have jumped like 3 feet in the air, my heart racing. I checked upstairs, there was no one. All the windows were shut. And they lived at the end of a cul-de-sac. No one around. I realized I hadn't said "Hi, Joe" when I walked in that day. Another day, the kid is napping and I'm at the dining room table on the phone when I'm just looking at the mirror and see a man walk behind me in the hallway like he's going upstairs. I'm like, someone's here. Hang up and check every room upstairs. No one. The parents came home not long after. I'm still shaking and the brother says, "What is wrong with you? You look like you saw a ghost," and is laughing. I just point upstairs and say, "I gotta go." Not long after, I'm talking to the wife and say how I saw this man walk in. He was older, wearing like one of those Irish caps. She gets a picture and asks if it was him. And I say yes, hat and all. She says, "That's Joe," and they catch glimpses of him from time to time. My boyfriend never believed me, but his brother did. He said one Mother's Day, he hears a man's voice right in his ear say, "Get her flowers." Scared the hell out of him. Sorry this was long. I haven't been over there in years, so I don't know of anything else happening. Although Joe scared this user a few times, he does seem to be harmless. Helpful, even. To be fair, seeing any kind of spirit is enough to make some of the bravest people afraid. Joe seems to be a happy spirit that maybe doesn't want to move on yet. Regardless, Joe is sweet, and we love Joe. This next story comes from user OK_sign1181, just 8 months ago. I'm a skeptic, a really big one. So when I say this freaked me out like no other, I'm telling the truth. I'm a late night kind of person. I was already watching ghost stories and stuff like that. Even if I'm a skeptic, it freaks me out, and I don't know why. Anyways, I went to brush my teeth at about 3:30 in the morning, and I thought to myself, would be kind of weird if something happened right now. My bathroom has a weird setup. So the first door leads to the sink and mirror, then another door leads to the bath and toilet. The toilet has a door right next to it that leads to the master bedroom, and right after I thought about something weird happening, I heard a small bang. I can't really describe it, but I look over and a dress that's hanging on the door to the master bedroom was swinging as if someone touched it. Okay, that's a little weird. But then the door slowly opened, and it was fully closed. That door takes a considerable amount of pressure to open. It doesn't latch properly, but either way, it would take a human force to open it. When that happened, I no joke said, "Nope, fuck that," out loud and closed the door leading to that room I saw the door open. Now my girlfriend's grandmother died in the hallway leading to where I was standing at the sink, and we found her. I'm not sure if that would have any connection. A couple months prior, I also had another weird event happen where my girlfriend and I were sitting in our room and her diploma was sitting on her dresser, standing up for months. Then all of a sudden, it just fell over. It was weird, but I thought something might explain it away. But what happened in that bathroom is what really makes me think about my skepticism. I checked for anything that could cause that dress and that door to open, but couldn't find anything. Does anyone have any thoughts for a freaked out skeptic? There have been theories proposed in the paranormal community that say non-believers or skeptics actually have a higher chance at stirring up spiritual energy and having their own experience. Now, whether this situation is an example of that, I'm not sure. But it's very interesting to think about. Our next story comes from user Emerald Wineglass. For as long as I've known my wife, she's mentioned growing up in a haunted house. Always assumed she was joking, because she always brought it up in quite a lighthearted way, and never went into much detail. It was a big old house, and I figured she was talking about weird old house noises. The house belonged to her great aunt, who raised my wife from most of her childhood. Her great aunt recently passed away, and her great aunt's daughter, who my wife calls her aunt, though technically she's her second cousin or something, I'll be referring to her as aunt, now owns the house. After my wife's great aunt passed, we went to stay in the house for 4 nights to attend the funeral and spend time with my wife's family, as we live in another state. When we got there, my wife and her aunt were chatting and mentioned that they thought my wife's great aunt might join the ghosts already haunting the house. I still didn't consider that they might be serious. The first night we spent there, I woke up in the middle of the night and noticed someone standing in the corner of the room beside the door. Thinking it was my wife, I asked what she was doing. This woke up my wife, who was actually sleeping beside me. I said, I thought I saw someone in the room with us, but it might just be my eyes playing tricks on me. She said, the person in the corner next to the door? Yeah, don't worry about it. I almost pissed myself. I thought there was some creep in the room and my wife was too sleepy to process it. I grabbed my phone to call the police, but when my phone lit up to room, I saw there was no one there. There wasn't even a weird shape that I might have mistaken for a person. The door was closed, so it wasn't like there could have been someone there who left the room in the moments I was looking away to grab my phone. My wife told me it was common to see shadowy people in the night, but I shouldn't worry because they don't do anything. She fell back asleep right after that, but I just lay there awake the whole night, wondering what the hell had just happened. The next morning, I asked my wife about it, and she said she wasn't kidding about the house being haunted. People who spend the night in the house regularly see and hear ghosts, but they've never hurt anyone or caused any problems. I remained skeptical, even after the next night, which had been after the funeral, and my wife and aunt both reported they'd been visited in their dreams by my wife's great aunt. So far, in my mind, everything was weird but unexplainable. The figure in the room could have been a strange trick of the light. My wife and her aunt had just attended the funeral of their loved one, and it made sense for them to both dream about her that night. The third night, I was kept awake for hours by the constant sound of footsteps pacing around the house. My wife also heard them, but said it was normal and I shouldn't worry, and she fell asleep easily. A few times during the night, I got up to look around for the source of the noise. I even did a couple of laps outside of the house in case there was someone outside. I never saw anyone walking around. At one point, I was in the lounge room and heard footsteps from the kitchen and called out to ask if there was anyone there. My wife's aunt opened her bedroom door and said she could hear the footsteps too. And just like my wife, she told me it was normal and there was no cause for concern. Then, there was the sound of a drawer opening in the kitchen, which we both reacted to. And I went to check and found the cutlery drawer open. My wife's aunt, who'd come into the kitchen too, simply closed the drawer, commented with mild annoyance that the ghosts are always leaving things open, and went back to bed, leaving me to my existential crisis. I could not come up with a way to explain that away. We'd both heard the footsteps, we both heard the drawer open at the same time, and there was no one there and no way out of the kitchen except for past us. I tried staying on the couch to try and catch the mystery walker, and there was multiple times I heard the footsteps pass through the lounge room, but I never saw anything. Eventually, I gave up and went back to bed. Nothing really happened that final night. though we woke up to several cabinets open and no one remembered leaving them open. Though that could be explainable by someone just forgetting or even sleepwalking. Even so, the footsteps still bothered me, and the shadowy person from the first night and the cabinets opened on the final night made me nervous in light of everything that happened on that third night. Up until now, I've always scoffed at the idea of the paranormal, but I just can't reconcile my experiences in that house with my skepticism. Talking to my wife's family revealed that everyone who stayed in the house believes it's haunted, because they've had at least one completely unexplainable experience there. They all report that the ghosts leave people alone for the most part, though some who lived there for a long time as children, including my wife and her aunt, have described meeting people that they thought were probably ghosts and having positive but strange interactions with them. Sometimes it's the simplest of things that are the creepiest. I've experienced unexplainable footsteps in my home and even watched one of my cabinets open on its own. Let me tell you, stuff like that will make you freeze immediately. Our final Reddit story comes from user Holder Scalp and his experiences with the occult. I experienced a terrifying haunting for months when I was 18 years old, still living at my parents' house. This story could be useful for anyone reckless enough to dabble into the occult without protecting yourself. For context, it was the month of February, cold, dark Canadian winter. I was between 2 sessions of uni, switching programs, so I had a full 4 months with nothing to do. Just broke up with my batshit crazy borderline girlfriend, tried to leave her after 6 months of an abusive relationship, and she tried to kill herself, which she succeeded since she died twice at the hospital. She miraculously survived after weeks in a coma. I was left scarred and traumatized, angry and bitter at life because I really wanted this relationship and did everything I could to help her in vain. She leached and sucked out every possible positive vibe I had. Anyway, that's another subject. But it is important since I felt so dark and my energy was negative in this period of my life. I dabbed into the occult at this moment, still skeptical but determined by all means to prove to myself that it was all real. Read the Keys of Solomon, researched about many demons, famous cases, incantations, and just the occult in general. One night, after focusing on Solomon, I asked out loud in my room to prove to me it was all real. I am not kidding when I tell you that activity started the same night. I closed the light, went under the cover. I felt a weight at my feet, sitting on my bed. I was shook, but still under the impression I was just too into it and hallucinating. From there, it went from bad to worse. I started to hear whispers in my room, like 2 people hushing to each other. My dog, which always slept with me, would wake up frightened as soon as I would close the light and leave my room growling. It would always start with a wait, then whispers, then stuff being knocked off of my counters. If I would put a pillow on my ears, I would feel it lift from my ears, like a hand pulling it from my head. I started to sleep with earplugs. I would hear scratching inside my mattress and my bed would slightly shake. My fan was knocked to the ground and it culminated in both my closet doors opening violently. I would feel so oppressed. I could feel that something bad was going to happen. Then, bang. I was terrified to go to sleep, and I would feel the oppressive energy start as soon as it would get dark. I was under the impression the parasites that I invited in were here to frighten me and leech on me. I had never done sleep paralysis except once in this bedroom, after a dream where a possessed priest was standing on my bed, his hands cuffed by a chain on the ceiling, and he was screaming. I was there to fight him, and I saw the spirit leave his body and it went straight for me. I got paralyzed against my closet doors and felt it trying to creep inside. I woke up paralyzed, trying to move, and broke out of it. It lasted for months, and I tried to cleanse my room, and nothing would work. I left my parents' house and was terrified it would follow me. It didn't, thank God. Be safe and careful, everyone. Don't invite anything, and do not open doors that you don't know how to close. For those who believe in the occult, leaving yourself open to spiritual attacks is a very real threat. There are multiple guidelines that must be followed before summoning or even interacting with the other side of the veil. This story is a prime example. You never know what you could be dealing with. Now, I said that was our final Reddit story, but not our final story. This next story is Trevor's and details how the spirit of a little girl attached to him. For most of my life, I've always felt I had an odd connection with the paranormal. When I was younger, it came across as just the typical feelings, chills, the sense of being watched, and feeling something touch you and such. But as I got older, these feelings and other things became way stronger, and new ones arose. Some of these new ones being hearing random voices, seeing figures, and being able to physically sense when I am in the presence of a spirit. Out of the many encounters I have had, there is one that has always stuck out from the rest, and has had lasting effects on me. For this story, we must go back to the year 2013. It was the end of my sophomore year of high school, and being the dumb teenagers that we were, my friends and I would go out and explore different places, one of these being a road near my house. At the time, this road was just a place that we thought was interesting, and we would go to hang out and look at the graffiti and stuff that was there. And it wasn't until this one night that my view of the road changed. It was around 8 p.m. on a warm summer night. Me and my friend had just finished hanging around at the mall, and we were headed home. We were just about to pass the road, and he was like, "Bro, we should stop there and chill for a while." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, let's do it." We had been there many times before, but this time felt different. I had an odd feeling come over me, and as we parked, he got out of the car, and he wanted me to get out, but I refused because something felt off. I wasn't sure what it was, but as he was standing in the tunnel on that road, I was compelled to snap a photo. And what I caught on that photo still spooks me to this day. There you see clear as day a face that looks as if it's screaming right in front of my friend. I didn't see anything when I took the photo. I just felt compelled to, as if someone was there telling me, "Hey, do this." And this was followed by a very random migraine-like headache, to which I now know is the telling sign for when I'm in the vicinity of a spirit. I have done a ton of research since the encounter, just to try and figure out why there might be a spirit in the area or why not, and my research led me to a quite sad discovery. Through the very sparse amount of evidence I found, I figured out that the spirit I had encountered was that of a young girl named Valerie, who had sadly been murdered and or passed away near or on that road at some point in the past, and her spirit has seemed to have stayed put in the area since. But since the encounter, it seems she had taken a liking to me, and I feel her presence around me almost daily. Even as I'm writing this, I feel her around me as if she's looking over my shoulder trying to see what I'm writing about. Alright, longtime fans of Out There will know Josh's history with his childhood home. I am honored to bring you another one of his stories. My childhood home was very haunted and creepy. Always was and always will be. There was one spirit in particular that I want to share a story about. This is truly just one of many incidents from my house, but this one has always stuck with me. Here's the layout of the room. So I'm sitting on the couch, and to my right are windows. To my left is another couch, and behind that is a hallway with a huge mirror hanging on the wall. I'm watching TV, and I have a strange feeling when I look out the window. The gut feeling where you know you're about to see something, but you still have to look. So, I looked. and in the reflection, I could see a woman walk through that hallway. I even saw her reflection in that mirror, and I knew I was the only one home. So, of course, I slowly turned to see what I just saw, but there was nothing there. Now, if you read my sister's stories, then you would have heard about the man in the house. I only experienced him twice. The first time, I saw him in that room, the living room, where he was just a shadow figure. The other time, I didn't see him, but when I was a kid, I was playing with my toys in the back room. All of a sudden, the light bulb from the fan above me fell and shattered all over me. Now, this isn't abnormal because things like this happen. The thing about this one, though, was that I was not sitting under the light. So this light bulb, to burst over me, it must have made a diagonal pattern in the air. When it comes to hauntings, there is no worse place than your own home. Even if you've never experienced the paranormal in your own home, it doesn't mean it's not there. The spirits could be in hiding, or waiting. Or perhaps like some, you just haven't let them in yet. So, what do you think? Are the spirits in these houses really out there? We are on Instagram and TikTok at Out There Paranormal, so be sure to follow us and give us your thoughts on the things we cover and suggestions for what you'd like to hear next. If you like what you hear, be sure to give us a 5-star review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It means a lot and it's a great way for others to find and enjoy the podcast, just like you. 1 month from today, I will be covering a forest filled with spirits that lure in the living, where demons and isolation make visitors and locals alike take their own lives. We will be talking about the Aokigahara Forest. See you next time. This episode was written and hosted by me, TJ, with logo designed by Jason Sykes and Josh, and theme music from purpleplanet.com.